Hey, Jason Fladlien here, and I'm going to show you how to come up with big ideas, angles, and hooks for your presentations, your sales letters, your webinars, your pitches, what have you. So let's get down to business. Now, this comes to me from Olga here, who sent in this message because I asked my subscribers. You should get on my email list, by the way. I said, if I could create one video for you, what would that video be? And this is what she asked me. So there are three major ways that I come up with hooks and angles and big ideas. Now, before we get into these three ways, let's kind of define what that means. And if you think about it, if we're all running the same advertisement that says the same thing, then do any of us win? And the answer is no. We all become banner blind. Nobody responds to any of the ads when they look, feel, and act and operate the same. And so oftentimes your wins are going to be how you have differentiated yourself vis-a-vis every other person that's on the shelf next to you. So what's the normal way that people do X? We can't do it that way. What's the common way that this thing is stated? I don't want to state it that way. I want to find some unique, interesting, exciting way in order to do that. So let me give you an example of a good big idea is when the iPod was launched, it said something like 5,000 songs in your pocket. Ah, what a hook, right? 5,000 songs in your pocket. I want to have this visual as much as possible. When somebody sees it instantly, they have this picture in their mind that whacks them over the head. So another big idea was P90X, muscle confusion. This notion that if somehow you confuse your muscles, they wouldn't know what to do and they just get bigger, right? And that was a big idea. It was an angle or it was a hook, muscle confusion. I never heard of that before. What's that? I got to investigate that. I got to figure out what that was. And then they would dive into it. There's this famous example in the old advertising from John Carlton when he would write for these golfer ads, you know, the golfing secrets of a one-legged golfer who could hit further, straighter, farther, blah, blah, blah. And the hook there was, he has one leg. I only know two-legged golfers. What is this guy with one leg doing? And maybe he knows a secret. I got two really bad legs. Does that equal one good leg? I got to take a look at that. So the angle, the hook, the big idea, that's what that is. So that, with that said, here are the three ways that I come up with them. The first way is I have a swipe file. And if you don't know what that is, man, this is going to be a good video for you. So whatever industry you're in or whatever you're attempting to do, and this doesn't just have to be sales letters. If you're creating YouTube content, you should have a swipe file of different YouTube videos that do different things extremely well. So when you look at them, you can draw inspiration from them. Now, here's how you don't use a swipe file. You don't just copy it. First of all, it's really stupid to do that because the whole idea is it's not unique if you copied it. You just missed the big idea on the big idea. The second reason is because you want to find something that's inspirational from that structurally, because now you become a creative problem solver, not just some incremental problem solver. You don't just kind of sort of make small process. You start to exercise your creative problem solving. So, you know, the whole concept of, 5,000 songs in your pocket. I say, what's the lesson when I hear a big idea like that? The lesson is in an environment where people typically talk about features, this many megabytes, this many, RAM, blah, 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 which is normal in tech. How can I talk about it in some other way? It reminds me of another Apple one, Retina display, right? Not 300 DPI or PPI or whatever the hell that stuff is that everybody else was talking about. They gave it a name. They made it interesting. They made it something cool to talk about. It was a little bit mysterious. Oh, it was cutting edge. And it was not necessarily any of those things. But I'm like, okay, what's the lessons there? So I get a swipe file, and then under these ideas which stimulate and get me excited, so when I sit down to come up with a big idea, I flash through 15, 20, 30 big ideas. And that gets me motivated. It gets the juices flowing, but at the same time, each one of those has a little bit of notes of why is this a good idea? Why is this interesting? Why is this something that stands out? And then I start to look at the thing that I have at hand and I say, which of these general principles does this thing most likely align itself to? So if I'm selling in software, I say, okay, most people typically focus on the features. They sell the drill, not the hole. Okay, let me see if I can sell the hole. What would that look like? How could that show up? I notice in certain instances, a big idea is they invent new vocabulary. So once upon a time in the WordPress space, when WordPress powered 25% of the internet, we had noticed an opportunity where all the geek speak that was going on was pointed at WordPress bloggers. teaching them how to back up their WordPress blog. First of all, backing up anything is very boring. Nobody really cares about that stuff. Some people do. It's necessary, but it's not interesting. And bloggers, that's a weird market in general, especially at that time. It was for more writer types than it was for entrepreneurs. And we said, you know what? Entrepreneurs, they would like to clone sites, not back them up, because then they could put out more sites that could potentially make them more money. So changing the terminology to clone from backup, changing it from blog to website, because a lot of people didn't understand back then that you could use WordPress for websites. They thought it was only a blogging tool because that was mostly what it did. And so we showed them how to clone and deploy WordPress sites in a variety of conditions that could help them in their business. New audience, new offer, new language, big idea. And so that whole concept came about as a big idea because I had familiarized myself enough with big ideas in the software space by seeing what other people did. Now, none of them had it laid out the way that we did, but I noticed, they come up with their own language, just like Apple did with the Retina display. They translated into mental pictures of people using the thing, not just the features of the thing. I bet. Let me see what I can do with that. And so the first one is to develop a swipe file. The second one is to listen to your customers or listen to customers and how they talk and what they say and what they wish for. And you say, that's interesting. So there's a headline and it says something like this. I'm going by memory here. I haven't drank a glass of water in 29 years. And this is a doctor who says this. And I think the subheader underneath it was something along the lines of, if you get frustrated at the idea of gulping down gallons of water per day, you need to read every word of this message. And I thought, damn, what a good hook. What a good angle. And I know where it came from. It came from the copywriter who was writing this direct mail package, interviewing the doctor, and then listening. And when the doctor said something very compelling, he bing, 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 a little bit of an antenna went off that says, ooh, there's my headline. So very often I listen and interview customers or clients and look for those headlines in their language. Oftentimes the best hooks and angles will come out of the words and the mouths of your customers. And your job is to identify them, find them, and then blow them up and magnify them and go wild with it. So that's the second way that I come up with hooks and angles, is I listen to the customers. The third way is I find proof. And if I try to acquire proof if possible. So once upon a time, when ClickFunnels was on a pretty upward trajectory and I knew that they were going to become a market leader, I ran into a guy named Trey Llewellyn, who at the time was the most successful ClickFunnels user. And by the metric of how he was most successful is he had done more transactions than anybody else on the platform. So I thought, whoa, there's a hell of a hook for you. I got proof in a way that nobody else can touch. And the proof is easy to understand at a glance. The headline practically writes itself. You want to learn the secrets from the all-time biggest power user in ClickFunnels who's ran more successful transactions than even Mr. Russell Brunson himself? Yeah, I want to know what that's about. I want to hear that. I want to understand that. I want to dive into that. And that was a huge win for us. And so I try to find the irrefutable proof angles. So I got another one. Once upon a time, I created a product with a guy named Ed Visers. And Ed is a legend in the high altitude mountain climbing space. He's climbed Everest several times, was the first American to climb all 14 mountains that are over 8,000 meters. And I think he was the fifth person ever to do it without supplemental oxygen. The guy's a legend, right? His big angle and hook, and it's funny when I would tell this to marketing crowds because they didn't get it. His big claim to fame is there's never been a client on a guided tour of his in a high altitude mountain that he's lost. And everybody's like, well, is that a bragging point? It is a bragging point. Because everybody else, some of their clients would die summiting these mountains. And Ed had this uncanny ability to know when to turn around. And so I interviewed him for a product. And we broke the whole thing down. And I did the math. And I calculated, because I think at the time, I don't remember it offhand, I think there was 32 or 68, or it was a trivial amount of people who had summited all 14 highest mountains on planet Earth without supplemental oxygen. And then I divided it by the total number of living human beings on the planet at the time. And the statistic It was a ridiculous number. It was like 0.0000617,238, and that was part of the headlines. Here's a man who's accomplished something only these amount of people have, and here's his secrets, and here's how we can apply it to the business world. So not only did I have that hook and that angle of this wonderful genius, one-of-a-kind person, but I also then made the lateral leap to let's apply it to goal setting, let's apply it to business, etc., etc. And that product did pretty good, especially for its price point. And I was really happy too, because as you'll see in the business is some of the most incredible human beings in the world still struggle to make their ends meet. They're really good at A, but they don't know how to make money with it. So I was really happy to give Ed some money to put in his pocket as well. It's not like he came begging or anything like that. I think the guy was doing good, but for 2 hours of his time, 3 hours at most, I was able to throw some money that guy's way and make some money myself. So the world is teeming with people that already have something incredible about them that is irrefutable, that nobody else has ever done or touched. Find those people and try to work deals with them. Sometimes we make that the bonus. So the hook becomes, what is the bonus? The hook is, here's the thing I'm gonna give you for free if you invest in this product over here. I have made many, many millions of dollars where we found the hook from a bonus that we could easily put together, acquire, or somehow partner with and say, you can't buy this, but you can get it for free if you buy that thing over there. It's our version of the football clock that Sports Illustrated used to use. Hey, listen, if you want to subscribe to Sports Illustrated, we'll give you this football clock. People were buying the damn subscription for the football clock. Okay, there you go. So those are the things that you could look for the big ideas, the angles in the hooks. For your communication, for your marketing, for your emails, et cetera, they are make a swipe file. That's number one. 2, listen to the people in your market and try to capture what they're saying, because they are saying things that can become hooks or are already hooks waiting to be exposed. And number 3, find that proof element and dramatize it and magnify it as much as you can. All right? Let me know if you've ever came up with a big idea in your life and what the results were in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.